Hello guys, our thing is you. Today inshallah we are going to have a very important grammar lesson. F conditionals. Let's get started. We'll begin with the zero conditional. We use the zero condition to talk about general truth. They are used to express something which is always true. We use the zero conditional to talk about facts, habit, permanent states, repeated actions. Let's have some examples. If we heat ice, it melts. We have F. After F, we have the F clause and then the main clause. If we heat ice, this is present simple. And the present simple, you have to make what we call subject-verb agreement. The subject and the verb must be in agreement. If the subject is one of the third person singular pronouns, he or she or it or any singular noun, we add s or es, ies at the end of the verb. If it's plural, we use the infinitive. If we heat ice, it melts. It's a fact. It's a general truth. So we use present simple after F, and in the main clause we use also present simple. Number 2. If a good student studies hard, he gets high marks. It's true that if a good student studies hard, he gets high marks. So we use F zero conditional here. So what comes after F is present simple, and the main clause is also present simple. An applicant gets a good job if he has good qualifications. Pay attention to something which is very important here, that the present simple can be one of the following forms. The verb ends in s, es, ies with he, she, it, or any singular noun. Infinitive with the we, you, or any plural noun. Don't or doesn't plus infinitive. Have or has plus noun. Have or has plus noun. Pay attention, it's very important. Have or has plus noun. Or am, is, are plus noun or adjective or pp in the in the passive form. An applicant gets a good job if he has good qualifications. Look what's after F here. In the F clause, has good qualifications. Have or has plus noun, so it's a present simple tense. As long as we talk about habit or permanent state, we use present simple tense in the F clause and the main clause. An applicant singular noun, gets a good job if he has good qualifications. So we use zero to talk about, as we said before, general truth. They are used to express something which is always true. F clause, present simple. Main clause, present simple too. F in the middle. What comes before it, present simple, which is main clause, and what's after it is present simple also, which is F clause. Now that we can use when or whenever instead of F. Look at the first example. If we heat ice, it melts. I can replace F here with when or whenever, as long as we talk about a fact or general truth. So if we heat ice, it melts. We can say when we heat ice, it melts. Or whenever we heat ice, it melts. Okay? So in the zero conditional only, we can replace F with when or whenever. We have a very important sentence you have to pay attention to. Number 4, look. Plants or plants, both of them are right. It's called a free variation. Plants die if they are not watered regularly. Plants die if they aren't watered regularly. Look at the place of F in the middle. Here, F followed by present simple. Wow, is it present simple? Yes, it's a present simple. How come? Watered is in the past. No, it's in the present simple. How come? Here we have to be plus pp. Am is are plus pp plus participle. It's a passive. Plants die if they aren't watered. Means if we don't water plants, they die. But here, it's in the passive form. Plants die if they are not watered regularly. Okay? Okay. Let's move to a first conditional. Let's have some examples. If he works hard, she will pass the test. What? In the zero conditional we had F, present simple in the F clause, and present simple in the main clause too. But here, it's different. What comes after F in the F clause is present simple, and what comes in the main clause is future. Very good. Why? Here we use F first conditional to talk about something which is very likely to happen in the present or future. We use real present. They are used to express real or very probable situations in the present or future. If she works hard, she will pass the test. It's probable that she works hard. It's very likely that she will pass the test. As long as she works hard, she will pass the test. Here, we talk about a very probable situation in the present or future. Something which is very likely to happen in the present or future. If Saber goes to an interview, he should wear a nice clothes. Stop the video and listen to me correctly. And listen to me. Pay attention to this. We have in the first conditional F clause, present simple, and the main clause can be one of the following. A very large, a very big list. Subject will infinitive. Subject can infinitive. Subject may infinitive. Subject might infinitive. Okay? Subject should infinitive in the advice, if you express advice. Or imperative in the main clause. For example, if you have any news, call me. Call me is imperative. Or it's adjective to infinitive. If you have any news, it's important to call me. Or you'd rather, or you'd better. Or let's. If you have time, let's go shopping. So the main clause in a first conditional can vary. Can be one of this large list. So you have to pay attention to all of this. Let's go back. If Saber goes to an interview, he should wear nice clothes. It's advice. We use should in the first conditional in the main clause to express advice. Okay? Is that clear? Yes. If you speak English well, you may get the job. Here we can use may. Okay? Instead of will. He is not sure. Yes. If you come first in the English test, I'll give you this good camera. Oh, what? What is this? It's a promise. Do you remember when we had future with will? Yes. And we said that will can be used for promises. When you come to make a promise, you use will. Here also, if you come first in the English test, I will give you this good camera. It's a promise. So we can use first conditional to talk about promises. Okay? If I win the gold medal, I will be very famous. If present simple will. I won't lend you any money if you insist on spending it carelessly. Now it's clear that if present simple in the if clause and future in the main clause. As we said before, we use the present. We use F first condition to talk about real present. They are used to express real or very probable situations in the present or future. Something which is very likely to happen in the present or future. F, present simple, will, can, may, should, infinitive, or should, infinitive, or its adjective to infinitive, or imperative, or let's, or you'd rather, you would better. All these in the main clause. Other ways to express the first conditionals. We mentioned this before, but we are going to recap it. If I call you on your mobile, come to my office. It's imperative, as we said before. If clause present simple, the main clause here is imperative. Don't spend the money if you don't have any left. If present simple in the if clause, and here it's imperative also, but with don't. Let's have unless. What's unless? Unless means if not. Unless means if not. For example, if you don't study hard, you will fail. If you don't study hard, if you want to use unless, put unless instead of if, and cancel don't unless you study. Okay, unless you come first in the test, I won't give you this good camera. So unless means if not. Unless he calls you, don't come to his office. Other ways to express the first conditional, we can use provided. Provided you study harder, you will come first in the test. Means if you study harder, you will come first in the test. You can have my car as long as you have a driving license. The same as you can have my car if you have a driving license. So provided and as long as, or providing, the same as if. Okay? Let's recap. Unless means if not. Unless means if not. Unless you come first in the test, I won't give you this good camera. Means if you don't come. So unless you come means if you don't come. Unless he calls you, don't come to his office. Means if you don't call. Sorry, if he doesn't call. Here we have a mistake. Cancel you and put he. Unless he calls means if he doesn't call. Okay? I can begin with should instead of if. Listen to me. If you study hard, you will succeed. If you study hard, you will succeed. I can use should instead of if. I can begin the sentence with should here. I can drop if and put should. Should subject imperative. Should subject imperative. Should you study? Should you study hard? Again, another example. If he comes early, he will meet the manager. Again, if he comes early, he will meet the manager. Begin with should. Cancel if and use should. Should he comes or should he come? Excellent. Should he come? Because should subject imperative. So we can use should instead of if at the beginning of the sentence. Okay? Should I call, number 7, should I call you on your mobile? Come to my office. Means if I call you. Should he receive my call, he will come immediately. Means if he receives my call. Okay? Yes. Now we're going to have second conditional. F, second conditional. We use F second conditional to talk about something which is unlikely to happen in the present future. Something which is very unlikely to happen in the present or future. If we took the car, we would pay for parking. If we took here is past simple tense, and the main clause subject would or could or might plus infinitive. But pay attention, something which is very important. If we took means we don't take. For example, another example. If I had enough money, I would buy a new car. If I had enough money means I don't have enough money. So it's unlikely to buy a new car. If I were a doctor, I would help you means I'm not a doctor. so I cannot help you. So we use F second condition to talk about something which is unlikely to happen in the present or future. I could watch the film if they showed it on television. Pay attention, here we have F in the middle, and what's after it is the F clause in the past simple, and before it we have the main clause which is could or would or might plus infinitive. A very important point, most students make mistakes in it. What is the past simple tense? The past simple tense, you will find the verb ends in ed or d or ied. If it's regular or irregular verb like had, sewed, ran, swam, these are irregular verbs. Or was or were plus noun or adjective or pp in the passive. Again, was or were plus adjective or noun or pp in the passive. Or had plus noun, it's past. He'd, what? Yes, he would means he would. He'd buy this yacht. We say yacht, not yacht. No, yacht. He'd buy this yacht if he had £1 million. Means he doesn't have £1 million. So it's unlikely to buy this yacht. Okay? Also, we use F second condition to talk about advice, to express advice or to give advice. When I say, if you remember in the Prep 1, Prep 2, and Prep 3, we had, you should study hard. It's advice. I asked you to use F. We say, if I were you, I wouldn't. If I were you, I would study hard. So we use F in the second conditional also to talk about or to give advice. Using, if I were you, I would, blah, 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 blah. If I were you, I'd listen to the weather forecast before the picnic. Means you should listen to the weather forecast before the picnic. Means you'd rather listen to the weather forecast before the picnic. Means you'd better listen to the weather forecast before the picnic. Means I advise you to listen to the weather forecast before the picnic. Okay? All these are forms of advice, giving advice. Whether with should, whether with you'd rather, you would better, I advise you, or F, if I were, I would. Okay? So we use F second conditional, as we said before, to talk about something which is unlikely to happen in the present or future. But pay attention, if I were you, Mr. Islam. You said, if I were, and you asked us to make subject verb agreement. I takes was, not where. But here in the second conditional, we use where with all pronouns if needed. I were? How come? Yes. Because it's unreal present. It's called unreal. If I were you, I'm not you. It's unreal present. So we use where with all pronouns. Okay? This is called subjunctive. Again, subjunctive. Okay, subjunctive. And we can use was if it's indicative. And this is something when inshallah you reach the college. Okay? Yes. So unreal present used to express imaginary situations also, which are contrary to facts in the present and therefore are unlikely to happen in the present or future. Okay? And also to give advice. This is the use of the second conditional of F. Give me, Mr. Islam, an example on imaginary situation. Imaginary situation, the word imaginary means not real. If I were a bird, I could fly. Of course, I'm not a bird. Okay? This is indicative. Okay? F, past simple, subject could or would or might plus infinitive. This is the end of our session today. Until we meet again, thank you and goodbye.